Hello, everyone, and welcome back once more. Um, Felix and I, the last time round, we were talking about the planetary consciousness grids. Now, we may have mentioned in that there are artificial grids as well that are in place on the Earth and has been put in place by the various alien intruder races. And I say various because there's quite a collection of them, and at various times and for various purposes. And they're like an overlay, in the same way that within our personality we can wear masks and facades. I see these grids as in the same way. They're like overlays over the organic grids, over the organic consciousness grids, and they're put in with agendas to actually take control of the organic grids, take control of our consciousness, because our consciousness links into the grids, and to warp and run energies in very specific ways for very specific purposes. Now, the first of these grids was put in, it was about 75,000 years ago, and I think that was about it. It was something to do with the Nephilim Wars. It was the ending of the Nephilim Wars, or during the Nephilim Wars, or something like this. And this grid was the Dragon grid. It was a Draco placed grid that mainly expresses itself to a large extent in the Far East, although we do catch the lash of the tail of it, as it were. The more grids came in around the time of the last stellar activation cycle. We had huge things going on to try and pull us into phantom fall. We had the Iani here trying to build out the massive Four Faces of Man grid that we talked about to prevent all that happening, not just 26,000 years ago, but for all time, to prevent that full stop. And the alien intruders put in various other grids. We got something called the Serpent grid. There was the Dove. It's called the Dove and Olive Branch, or just the Dove grid, and Crucifixion, and that's a Jehovian Anunnaki grid, and that also holds the crucifixion implants that we may or may not have talked about at some time and place. Centered on Stonehenge, there's something called the Nephilim Reversal Grid, and also the Niburian Diotic Crystal Grid. Don't say that when you've had too much to drink. What else is there? There's the Turnstile Matrix. There are Black Magic grids. There's even a Corvid Curse grid. And we also have that went in about the time of the fall of Atlantis, the final fall of Atlantis, which was about 10,000 years ago. There were grids that went in about that time that were called the what are they? The Phoenix,
The Phoenix grid and
and
the
Falcon.
yeah.
Falcon grid. Yeah. So I mean, there's a plethora of things that have been overlaid, the natural constructs of the earth and the earth body that affect the earth, affect us, affect the way energies run, affect our consciousness. And there are some of them are competing agendas, basically, as well. There are alliances that have come together and then split apart. And different grids are, again, much as the earth grids, the natural earth grids have, there would be wars over them at somebody. I want your wormhole. No, it's ours, sort of thing, backwards and forwards. So yeah, between the Draco, the various Anunnaki factions, I mean, the Anunnaki themselves, there's half a dozen different groups, and they don't all like each other. We've got the Weezer, who are busy stirring the pot in the background behind it all, and so on and so forth. There's a lot that has been going on. Now it's all, I think, good news story, it's all being unpicked and all these overlays are coming out, but they have defined our history and everything to do with what it is to be a human being on this planet, all of the wars against consciousness, the massacres, the miseries that have been playing out for thousands and thousands of years now. they have helped to hold all of these programs and agendas in place.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Perfect. Yeah, what you've just summed up has been very precise, very accurate, and really well said. So hats off to you. Where I feel kind of called to with this is to first understand how they were put in place. And a lot of these have been put in place through ritual sacrifice, ritual degrees, on as a kind of human level, let's say. These actions kind of perpetuate the consciousness of that fallen behavior, which is then kind of seeded into a kind of network structure that will be in line with the entity structure that is they're kind of working with. So the entity structure will inline the kind of the architecture, let's say, the human connector points to that entity structure. So the negatives that are on the earth will feed that system with their own behavior, whether it is kind of SRA, these different topics that I'm not going to say on here, but you know what I'm talking about. Um, sex magic, really fallen behaviors, ultimately is then funneled into the grids where it becomes a kind of latch point. So the more this is being done, and we're talking over aeons, like epoch after epoch, this kind of behavior has gone in. So the grids have been kind of holding this information, these overlay grids have been holding this information, which is feeding the artificial intelligence system in order to kind of feed itself. So then that gets rerouted back through the Black Cube network, it gets routed through the Baphomet network, it gets routed through black magic grids. So it kind of, the artificial intelligence and the black magic gets interlocked together to create a web. Now, that
Mhm.
web is then being recirculated through the whole negative system. But when, God forbid, somebody of the light or kind of anyone really falls into a kind of a trauma state, that is then going to be weaponized and it gets shot straight into the consciousness of man to amplify um, the fallen behaviors, to amplify the splitting of consciousness, to move further into states of separation. Now, this is really important to understand because this is why we're going through the healing process that we are, to consciously convert ourselves out of these old behaviors and to choose a different pathway. This pulls your energy back out from the artificial overlay grids, whatever kind of faction of that consciousness is. So it could be sexual misery behavior, which would then go into the turnstile grid or into the Nephilim reversal grid or into the Baphomet network. And then you're starting to override your sequencing as you're kind of being pulled in and out of those systems, gaining buoyancy to be able to kind of choose something different and elevating your consciousness into a higher timeline conscious conversion.
Mm.
Right. So that's all kind of playing out first. So these different grids will hold different components that do different things to your consciousness through your own behavior. And the more open and healed you become more aware, or you tap into deeper layers of it. So the further you go into your healing, it can actually open you up to a deeper level of the trauma, which can feel quite overwhelming and quite overbearing because you're then having to kind of transmute, transform, update the belief systems to kind of pull yourself out of these more stickier areas. Now,
And some areas are more difficult than others on the planet, aren't they? Some
yeah,
areas are more heavily overlaid than others. Stonehenge, for example, I
yeah,
mentioned it. I mean, it's a Stargate area, so it's a very powerful point.
mm-hmm,
That whole plane area is a very powerful energetic point.
uh-huh,
And there are several grids anchored in using that energy point as the
mm-hmm,
place to do it. So heavy, nasty energy. But
uh-huh,
there are other areas of the grids where there's a lighter touch to it. So it's
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a real mixed bag there, isn't it?
you're not so likely to get totally. I mean, sometimes you go somewhere and it's like, "Bleh."
Yeah.
It's like you've been vomited on by something very nasty, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it will also be in relation to your own memory as well. So, where your connection points are within that. And if you've done the inner work to go in there, sometimes you can go into these places and you've been hit with a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And that reduces your ability to understand, process, and think because you're having to then work through all of these levels of consciousness to open your fields out.
Because
So,
it's
yeah,
triggering within you either past life memories
yeah,
or maybe ancestral. It may be within your ancestral line.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. So, the best thing to kind of do before going to any of these kinds of locations is number one, just protect yourself, but two, pre-scan the fields as well, is what I like to do, is just to kind of process the information before you actually go in there. So when you actually go in there, you can receive what you need to receive, give what you need to give, and then not receive the kickback from the touching the land and downloading what is
Mm.
there, which would have then subsequently triggered all of the weight in your field and caused a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So if you kind of pre-scan, pre-heal, update process, understand what it is, okay, realize that that's not you, creates a level of detachment, and that ultimately starts to dissolve everything within there. That's the kind of process of healing, and you can do that just through observation and journaling.
Yeah.
Um,
And also, put in place your 12D shield. And then that means that you go in so fully protected that you can, rather than being on the defensive,
mhm,
having, really to deal with stuff being thrown at you and what's come up. If you're fully prepared and fully shielded, you're in a position to be able to begin to offer healing yourself or put high
yeah,
frequency energy back into the land, back into the grids,
mhm,
and help. I mean, a lot of these grids, they run reversal energies,
mhm,
and that's impacted. It doesn't just impact us, it impacts all of the elemental fields as well within the earth. And so the elemental realms have been very, very badly damaged by these grids.
mhm, mhm,
We can start to offer healing and help at that level as well.
mhm,
As I
mhm.
said, the good news is that
It's on its
they
way out.
are being dismantled and really quite fast now. So
Mhm,
the influence of these grids is nothing like what they were, and bit by bit, as
mhm,
various machinery is taken down, as various energy networks are taken down, these are faltering. It's one of the
mhm,
reasons we see so much chaos in the outside world.
mhm,
The fallen races, or those with fallen consciousness, all their minions, are kind of like thrashing around, trying
mhm,
to put the plug, the bath plug back in as all of the water sort of drains out, and they're not achieving it, and so they're
mhm,
getting more and more desperate.
mhm,
Um,
mhm, mhm,
but yeah, that doesn't mean to say that there isn't danger for us at this particular point, because
mhm,
a cornered animal is at its most dangerous when it has nothing
mhm,
left to lose.
mhm, mhm.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
but be aware of it. Don't be frightened of it. As I say, if you do your own inner work,
Mhm, mhm,
keep yourself well shielded, and love the land. We are part of the land. We are part
mhm.
of this beautiful planet.
Yeah.
If we can help her heal, we help ourselves heal. It's
Mhm. Absolutely.
part of the
Yeah.
whole. Mm.
And just to add on to that as well, just recognize the thought forms that are coming in may not actually be yours. It can just be weaponized from the grids that are kind of trying to influence you, influence
Yeah.
your behaviors, and influence your energy centers to where you're holding imbalances within yourself. It's important that this, when you go into these spaces, this is not you. You
Mm.
are you are experiencing the information that is coming in, and the sentient the mental and the sentient layers that are kind of going to run through you so you understand more deeply as to what's going on. Um, it's got many purposes as to why that is, but predominantly it is so the energetic information can clear um, through your energy system, and that is a feel it through kind of scenario. And what will come with that is the thought forms as well.
Mm.
And it's just about understanding, picking apart the thought forms and just cleansing them.
Mm.
Um,
I love to. I mean, thought forms, when you realize what they are, they pop like a bubble. I love
yeah,
just making a great big pin and.
nice one. Yeah, lovely.
Mm.
So yeah, if you did enjoy that, give us a like and a follow. You'll find Saira's details down below, mine down below also, and you'll also get the social media accounts as well. So yeah, if
Oh
you can give us
yeah,
a
and
follow too.
I was just going to say very quickly there as well, for anyone who wants a lot more information on the grids, is, wanting more of the detail of each of these grids and things like that. There's a whole section in the Lost Wisdom Library that you
Hmm.
can get into via my website
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
those.
And it's a wealth of knowledge. I use it myself. It's brilliant. All right, guys, loads of love. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.